which one's the best crypto asset? Well, Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Okay. What's the second best? There is no second best. There's no second best crypto asset. There's a crypto asset. It's called Bitcoin, right? Right? There's no second best. Okay. It's not like,
man. Thank goodness.
It's risky business. Welcome to the HEX Late Show. It's 40.
Hey, what's
up? Tuesday evening. It's Boxing Day in Australia. What's going on, Sammy?
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Happy
holidays. How was your Christmas? 43?
Too much food. It's usually how it goes. Yeah, just too much consumption.
Both days or just Christmas Day?
Christmas Eve, and then actually we started. I went to a barbecue on the 23rd before Christmas Eve. The day before Christmas Eve, so I had the barbecue the day before Christmas Eve, and then we had Christmas Eve at our place, and then Christmas Day at family's place, and today was just like eating like all the leftover type, stuff. So it's been a 4 days solid, heart attack territory level of eating. How about
you
yourself?
having a break? So you and your wife had a break from your diet?
Yeah. Break from the diet.
Yeah, so did I. Oh, mine was very similar. I had Christmas Eve at my place, and then I had Christmas Day at my sister's, and drinks on the eve of Christmas Eve. And then today I took it on myself to get Domino's for dinner, which was pretty yummy. But then tomorrow I'm back on it.
Well, yeah, I'd like to get back on it. I think what's today? Tuesday. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I think tomorrow would be a good day to get back on it. So did you watch the video that Richard Hart
I did,
released?
Of course. When I saw my boy on Twitter, I was like, hell yeah, baby, and watched the whole thing. And then summarized it and tweeted it out.
Oh, nice. I like I think it was like maybe 40 minutes in, he just got stuck into all the legal stuff. And that, to me, that was the like, that's where all the juicy parts of the stream were. In my opinion, that's where all the interesting stuff was.
But good.
No one could ever accuse Richard Hart of not being well versed in like he says himself, he's not a lawyer, he's not like a legal professional, but he sure as hell sounds like he knows what he's talking about, and he sounds like he's read a lot of stuff on these topics. So it's going to be interesting to see how that all plays out in the coming months. But yeah, I was that was a surprise.
Yeah. I'm really glad that he came out with that legal stuff because it's the first time he's really addressed it since it all went down.
I haven't heard him address it in that much depth. Yeah, you're right. Like he sort of went into more detail. He really sort of put it back onto the SEC and the people working in the SEC at the SEC. Like he sort of put it back onto them. It's like, hey, are you guys just doing what you think is? Are you doing this on behalf of the SEC, or are you just doing what you think is the right thing to do?
Obviously, he's done a lot of research. He's read a lot of cases, and he's got some fantastic points. And I think we all know what he was getting at with, it's the revolving type door process. But it was funny. Whereas Gary Gensler made a tweet the other day about crypto and about protecting America. And I actually, a whole heap of his comments on it was like, corrupt dog, Gary, yeah, bullshit, and then Twitter guidelines actually dropped a comment on our comment saying the SEC way around regulation is by enforcement.
Yeah.
So it's even
exactly.
Twitter.
Well, I mean, Elon Musk is no fan of the SEC. That is for sure. I mean, he's been sued by the SEC. He was, in his words, I believe he was sort of forced into a corner to accept accept something that he had to, admit wrongful doings or something like that along those lines because he was
a judge called him corrupt.
Called Gensler corrupt.
Yeah, called Gensler corrupt.
I played a clip. I think it was last week. It was a clip from Elon. I think it was an Elon Musk clip. Let me see. Was it? Did I play it or did I post it on Twitter? I'm not sure. And yeah, he actually spoke to this. Elon Musk was speaking to this. How it was in a Lex Friedman interview that he had done, and he was talking about the SEC, specifically about lawyers in the SEC and how they are incentivized to go after big names so they can get this scalp, and then they can use that scalp as a way to get a high-paying job in a law firm, which then services hedge funds, and that's why they don't go after hedge funds, but instead go after, big names. But
it's how they get their name in the business as well. It makes themselves look good. There's 40,880 signatures in the Pulse petition. Did you hear Richard Hart talk about the petition today?
The amicus brief.
Yeah. And he basically said, don't forget that your lawyer should mention this point, this point, this point, and you can Google it. So maybe there is a little bit of information missing, which would be a shame because we had 40,000, we got 40,800 signatures. It's pretty damn good.
I mean, but that's just an addition to whatever proceedings are going to take place. That's not really, because anyone could submit an amicus brief. It doesn't mean that any of that info is going to be missing, when this thing has its day in court. From what it sounds like, when eventually, if it doesn't get dropped, when eventually it does, end up in court, it sounds like every single point is going to be covered by
Here, so I just want to share this quickly. So Gary Gensler put a post up saying there's a lot of non-compliance in the crypto space. It undermines confidence when so many people have been hurt and all they can do is stand in line in the bankruptcy court. What a load of shit, Gary. Anyway, the Twitter actually put up this saying crypto companies like Coinbase, a public company the SEC oversaw the listing of, have been trying to gain clarity on SEC guidance for compliance for the past few years. The SEC hasn't taken a clear stance and has relied on regulation by enforcement. And that's, with the Twitter community guidelines, that's what it comes up with, just to educate you on, on who the SEC is, who Gary's. And Somi replied to me and said, Gary Gensler gets called a corrupt liar by a judge and he thinks we should trust him. And he's got the article here. DC Circuit finds SEC acted arbitrarily and capriciously in disapproving proposed Bitcoin ETF.
Yeah.
Hey everybody, hey Tin Top, hey DJ, hey Seek, Retrostratic, Steve Mac. What did we get for Christmas? DJ Creditas. What did I get? I got a photo frame with some nice photos. I got heaps of scratchies and lotto tickets and a box of chocolates. And that's about it. What about you, 43? Write in the comments. Anyone got any cool stuff for Christmas?
I got I bought my wife and I have a deal where we don't really get like each other presents for Christmas because you sort of, I don't know, is it just me or when you need something you just go and buy it? Like generally if you need something and I don't know if I have the confidence in going to spend, bigger dollars on anything without, getting approval beforehand anyway. So, generally what I do is I just went out and I knew that I needed some shaving stuff. So I just went and bought spent $30 on shaving stuff, $40 on the, and that was, we just put that in a little bag and that was my Christmas present. And my wife did something similar. Well, not shaving stuff. I think my wife got some perfume and a couple of other things that she needed. And that was what, just because it's like, if you have to go to the trouble of something, this is our perspective. We just get what we need when we need it pretty much. So it was more just to have something under the tree so that our kids saw that we got something. And, I got some Ferrero Rochers, which have not lasted very long in our household.
No, they don't in my house either, actually. They're actually a really good choice, the Ferrero Rochers, I must say, myself.
Yeah, a good choice, bad choice. It's like when you get them, it's just like, damn it. Now I have to eat these things.
Oh, you have to eat two, and then you eat another two, and then the box is gone. Hey, did you see breaking news from your friend Somi? Mt. Gox people are reportedly starting to receive their Bitcoin payments already. This means that Mt. Gox team was conning the market the whole time to receive the coins at a higher price when it's right for dumping onto market. Reddit and Telegram users reporting they've received some of their Japanese yen-denominated payments. Originally, Mt. Gox is set to release its 140,000 Bitcoin in October this year, but Somi always said that they probably were lurking in shadows until Bitcoin goes above 40,000.
I don't get why they don't get the actual Bitcoin.
Me neither.
You know what? Probably because it would be really hard to trust that, because these things are not reversible. It would be really, really hard to trust that the Bitcoin would go to the right people. Like, how do you that would be such a difficult thing to organize, I think.
I know.
So look, at least they're getting some of their cash. So You know, and if
Exactly.
they are getting, do you know what the thing is? If they are getting paid in yen and I guess dollars in other countries, those people might go and buy it on the market. They might go market buy BTC. But let's talk about HEX. You know, this is the HEX Late Show.
Yeah.
And let me just bring up a.
Let me get a drink. You do that. I'm gonna go get a drink, fellas, ladies, and gorillas.
No worries.
Gentlemen and ladies.
That is actually a good idea. That's actually a good idea. So let me bring this up.
Is that Pulse Hex? Oh no. What is that?
HEX Scout,
Mm.
the website HEX Scout.
Yeah.
So we're on hexscout.com and we can see that there's 650 billion supply of HEX, and the price at the moment of HEX on PulseChain is just under, like a smidgen under 1 cent. And we can see here that on the ETHEREUM, the chain where HEX originally launched, it's just over half a cent. We've had in the last 24 hours, we've had 36 million HEX buys and 26 million HEX sells. And we've had 206 million HEX new stakes.
There was a problem with the bridge today. So is the volume low? 43?
Well, this is not relating to the bridge. This is just relating to stakes. But the bridge. I'll get to the bridge in a second because I'll go to the Go Pulse website and that's got a bit more info on the bridge, I believe. But we've had 203 end stakes. But what's interesting is 93 of the new 93 new stakes make up the 206 million HEX stakes. 206 million HEX stakes made up from 93 new stakes. But the 203 million HEX that was end staked, that's from 225 stakes. But let's jump across to GoPulse and have a look at this bridge and see what's
Yeah, apparently the gas range was out and caused problems for hours, making everyone's transactions stuck. Hey Ash, hey Archies, Merry Christmas. What's up?
So where are we? Where's the bridge? Here we go. Okay, so there's 72 million US dollars in the bridge at the moment, and 3.3 bridged out. So and I believe that there was a problem found, like a code issue found, and it's been patched already, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I think so. Poseidon said he's fixed it. Not the gas problem, but some other bug thing that he found.
Right. Okay. Yeah, so that's all seems to be, I believe that's all okay now again. I mean, if anyone else has any more info, please come let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was this other thing you were talking about? The gas.
Some gas range problem. Everyone's transactions were getting stuck, and heaps of people just was taking like well over half an hour for transactions to come through, and people were just messaging people saying help, what's going on with PulseChain and the Pulse Bridge, and then people saying just leave it for a while.
Bridging is free at the moment, like as far as
it is,
like the actual bridge free. It's been historically it's been 0.3% fee in the token that you're bridging. That's been the bridge fee, and that's not to be confused with the gas cost to send. Like if you're sending from Ethereum to PulseChain, there's also going to be like an Ethereum gas cost to do that transaction.
Yeah,
That's still there. That you can't get rid of that. You know,
can't
you
get rid of
need to
that.
you need to pay gas to send.
Mm.
But the actual fee that the bridge was taking has gone. So we don't know how long that's going to be like that for, but it doesn't seem like it's a cheaper time to bridge in now than
Pretty
it
cool.
was a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. And also Richard Hart said how impressed he was with, I believe it was GoPulse that put out the function where they give 10,000 free pulse when you bridge in PulseChain.
All right. Okay. So if you don't have any, and the purpose of that is if you're bridging in, let's say you're bridging in some DAI from Ethereum, right? And you bridge it into the PulseChain version of that address, you're going to just have that DAI in your PulseChain address, but there won't be any Pulse gas to do any transactions. And that's been problematic. And people have like worked on ways to resolve that, but there's nothing that's more eloquent or easy or simple for people than for you to just get a free 10,000. Was it 10,000 or 1,000?
What?
Do you know? The Pulse.
It's 10,000
It's
pulse.
10. Yeah, well, I mean, you can't do better than that. 10,000 Pulse just airdropped to your address when you bridge in something else.
Yeah, Richard Hart was quite impressed by that, which is good. And he was saying in his video that, there's still plenty of free money that the ETH boys don't know about or can't be bothered coming over to get. There's all those copies of the NFTs. There's still, room for a huge NFT market on PulseChain by what Richard was saying. And he's really enjoying, the fact that everyone's building stuff. He was just like, keep building. And, I think he wants us to get the word out. I think he thinks that we're still very young and we're, how old are we? 7 months old now. And
yeah, we are very young. PulseChain is extremely young.
We've got to get the word out,
And we're not even in the hyper bull part of the cycle. I say we're at the perhaps the beginning of that part of it.
But I think the cycle's going to be different this time, 43.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, with the ETFs coming in, and even if they're cash settled, we're going to see a lot of hocus pocus bogus bullshit. And then we might see the regular cycle. But even Somi reckons that we're going to pump before we usually do. And then we'll probably see a big sell-off. And then we'll still probably go back up. But who knows? All speculation. But the reason it's going to be different because the ETFs. There's 9 or 12 ETFs sitting on Gensler's desk.
Gensler's done whatever he can not to have ETFs. And the whole cash settled thing is just like, are they still spot ETFs? Like, I understand the cash settled thing, but are they spot ETFs?
I wouldn't have a clue because I don't even own an ETF or participate in ETF, but I think
because if they're not spot, right, that's a problem. It's a problem for anything. That's how they can manipulate the price.
Well, that
right, because they can if things aren't spot settled, they can manipulate the price by saying, oh, you're buying Bitcoin, but they're not actually buying the Bitcoin. So it all depends whether they're spot settled or not. In my mind,
I guess we'll find out. When it all goes down. Well, they're saying the 6th of January, now the 26th of January. Who knows?
Yeah. Who knows if Gensler's going to be there, man? It seems to me that guy has I don't know, has been very political. I mean, just going off what RH was saying, but also what I've seen in the last couple of years. The guy seems very I don't know. He just hasn't really, doesn't seem to be doing what he should be doing is like protecting people from harm. Is that what he's doing? It doesn't seem to me that that's what he's doing.
Well, hanging out with SBF and what all that money going from FTX to Hillary Clinton's Democratic fund, I mean, that was never returned. That's all sus as hell.
It's all sus. I've got a clip here from Richard Hart, so let me play it, and we can hear it from him.
There's some things in the Constitution, and these are very important things to know.
Can you hear that?
And these things are so important to know that federal officers, such as Gary Gensler, the chairman of the SEC, you can go on the internet and you can search Gary Gensler's confirmation hearing, and you're going to see him swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States of America to defend it against enemies, both foreign and domestic. Now, you might ask yourself, what is a domestic enemy? What is a domestic enemy of the Constitution? I wonder. So the Constitution has something called the First Amendment. The First Amendment is freedom of speech, freedom of the press. Government shall make no law against free talking and all that stuff, right? Well, it turns out that Gary Gensler and the Securities Exchange Commission is actually doing a lot in violation of their oath. It turns out that they're violating a lot of what the Constitution is supposed to be protected from. So the Constitution says you have a right to freedom of movement, a right to freedom of association, a right to freedom of speech. There's other legal doctrines like the right to contract, which, you know, if you interfere with other people's contracts as tortious interference, you can get sued for it. It can cost you money. You have a whole bunch of rights in there, right? And then there's things that are like even harsher violations. So if you're going to violate people's free speech, one of the worst ways to do that is with something called prior restraint, where you don't even give them the chance to speak. Well, listen to this. Blockchain networks are communication networks. They carry speech. The first Bitcoin block carried a copy of a newspaper article. Blockchain networks are speech. And the software that consists of blockchain networks, the nodes, the wallets, those are just word processing assistants. They just help you format your speech in a way that other participants can understand. So when you try and interfere with the blockchain, you're interfering with communication. You're interfering with communications network. You are performing prior restraint. Your interference in these things is creating a chilling effect. You are interfering with people's association. You are interfering with people's right to contract with each other. You're interfering with specific contracts. You are doing numerous, multiple things in violation of your oath to protect the Constitution. You're doing it outside of congressional authority. You're doing it outside of your mandate. So I don't understand how America became the carceral state. America has the highest rate of incarceration of any nation that has ever existed in the history of mankind. And yet you see very few lawsuits against people in the government. It just doesn't seem to match up to me. If you have extremely high rates of the government putting people in prison, shouldn't you have also high rates of some of the people being put in prison kind of suing the government for violating their rights? I mean, you go around the world and you can't even in some countries get 20 years for murder, but in the United States, they hand out time like it's candy. You can get 20 years very easily for doing lots of different things. Very easy to get 20 years in the United States. Very hard to get 20 years anywhere else. Isn't that cruel and unusual? By the way, Bill of Rights has a rule against cruel and unusual punishment. Shouldn't there be more lawsuits over this? Isn't it cruel and unusual that for things that aren't murder, you're getting what the entire rest of the world considers to be murder punishments? And I think even in the United States, you see crimes that just, you're going to get punished harder for nonviolent crimes and violent crimes in a lot of instances. Doesn't make any sense. Or like meta crime that doesn't even have a victim. These things are like, they're not healthy, they're not good, and it's how you end up with the highest rate of incarceration in the history of mankind. So do you really have the rights you're not willing to fight for? Probably not. So you got to fight for these rights. And it's just tragic because so few people have the funding or the ability to stand up to the blowback to fight for your rights. I mean, when the ex-president of the United States is having lawfare used against him so that he can't run for office, that's what they do in the third world. The people in power use the executive branch and the police to make it so that no one can run against them, so they just keep winning. That's not good for democracy, guys. It's really not. You're supposed to have free and fair elections where people are allowed to choose between different parties, and you're not supposed to, once again, this is just like prior restraint. You're not supposed to, before they can run, make sure they can't run, because how can you have a fair election when the people that you want to unelect are in control of who gets to run against them? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I have another clip as well, but spit and fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Let me just bring it up.
So the two things I see on the list that I didn't cover are, one, the Securities and Exchange Commission is custodying cryptocurrency right now via their comment section. With 100% certainty, the Securities and Exchange Commission of the United States has received cryptocurrency in the form of, this is by their definition. By my definition, the real one, you cannot even custody cryptocurrency. You can't. It's impossible. But by their definition, the wrong one, knowing the seed words means that you've received an airdrop you have to pay tax on. So I can tell you with 100% certainty that both the Securities Exchange Commission and the IRS Treasury have both received seed words that have money in them to Bitcoin, and they've both received time-locked Bitcoin. Both. And they've both received the Uniswap code. So they're hosting for public display the Uniswap code for exchanging cryptocurrencies, time-locked Bitcoin, and the seed words to them, and not time-locked Bitcoin and the seed words to them. And they can't even know what else those seed words control, because it's not knowable because of the halting problem, which states that you can't know whether code will eventually halt or not until you eventually run it. And by that same token, you can't know what derivation paths hold private keys which match values on public blockchain networks, because you don't know what derivation path is being used, and you don't know how far down that derivation path you'd have to go to exhaust all the possibility of keys that might control things. I don't think it's knowable. Therefore, their concept of what hosting an exchange is, or what requires you to know your customer, or what a customer is, or what custody is, should all be invalidated by proof by absurdity, right? Because if their stupid rules that they're trying to make made any sense, or were true, then they're all guilty and they all owe tax right now. So anybody that works at the SEC that read that comment that had those seed words now has dominion and control and should owe tax now, right? By your guys' rules. Well, guys, did you register as a securities exchange? Did you register as a custodian? The SEC is trying to pretend that every cryptocurrency is a... I didn't explain this harshly enough, and I should do that now. The Securities and Exchange Commission is violating their oath by becoming a domestic enemy of the Constitution that they are supposed to fight against. They are becoming a domestic enemy of the Constitution, and they are trying to classify hugging as punching and trying to arrest parents. That's an analogy. They're trying to classify speech as securities. They're trying to classify entering a block and communicating publicly with everyone. If it were true, if it's true that you can't trade securities without a securities exchange, then it's also likely true that you can't pay someone to include your speech in a block, because the only method by which these networks allow you to include your speech in a block nearly primarily or nearly entirely is by paying a fee to be included in the block in the native currency. Well, they're trying to undo all that. They're trying to make it so that you can't speak because they're trying to pretend that your speech is a security. That's a violation of their oath. That's a violation of the Constitution. That's a violation of your rights. That's a violation of due process. You're not allowed to play pretend. You're not allowed to pretend that hugging is punching and arresting parents. You're not allowed to pretend that speech is a security. Speech is not a security. Speech is speech. You can turn anything into a security if you want to. You can turn an orange into a security. You can turn an orange tree into a security. You can turn anything into a security. But that doesn't mean that they are securities. An orange is an orange. It's not a security unless you work really hard to make it so by including an investment contract. So you buying a coin and using that coin to purchase speech on a distributed peer-to-peer open source network, that's speech, man. That's as speech gets. So the concept that you're going to de facto ban cryptocurrency around the jurisdiction of the legislative branch is also a violation of the separation of powers doctrine. It's also a violation of the non-delegation doctrine. Google these things. What they're doing is illegal, and they should be held personally responsible for it. And they are acting outside of qualified immunity, I might add. Some of it might be covered under qualified immunity. A lot of it shouldn't be. And they should be held personally responsible. And I would like to see someone from every state of the union sue these people for the rights of yours that they're violating. They have addresses, and they've got a lot of money, and they should be sued for what they're doing. Let the courts decide whether what they did.
Yeah.
There you go.
Hey,
So,
Physiology. Everyone else.
what's up, people in the chat? What's up, people in the chat?
Good to see you. Good to see you.
I hope everyone had a great Christmas and is enjoying a bit of time off. This is what we're doing with our time off. Sammy and I, we're here on a Tuesday evening, listening to Richard Hart spit some knowledge, spit some interesting stuff. What do you reckon? I mean, what
he's absolutely right. If you've ever experienced corruption in your life, I mean, living in the Western world, if you can identify corruption and you've been through a situation, whether it be through friends or a family where you've witnessed it firsthand, then you can really understand what Richard is saying. And what he's saying is basically that the SEC is getting away with behavior that goes against their own government rules, standards, and laws, and they're doing it right in front of your face. And that he wants to see people stand up to him. And Nuclear Herbs, who's SEC attorney, has said there is senators who want to take this further, but Nuclear Herbs think it's going to come after this whole SEC thing with Richard. So there are people putting things in place to try and stand up to these dogs, but it's just going to take time. But I think Richard wants everyone to get in on it and say, hey, you're depriving me of my own human rights here, which is blatantly obvious. Like, this is third world country type stuff. This is what they do in third world countries, not first world Western countries. And they do it under the public's nose. You know, it's quite obvious.
Well, all the stuff they've been doing with Trump, all the lawsuits and stuff, that seems to be like similar to third world country type tactics. Yeah,
absolutely.
The stuff that's going on, I think in Colorado there, he's been taken off the ballot in Colorado. And look, yeah. I don't know exactly what's involved in all of this, but to me, that guy has been the president. He's, obviously interested in being reelected.
Yeah.
But, excluding him, but it's also like excluding him from the ballot for something that he did not actually attend. He wasn't in attendance on that that January. I think it was January 6th. Some people went to the Capitol and did some stuff, got in trouble, but they're sort of blaming him for it.
But they shouldn't have the right to do that either. But they've given Trump a hard time from day one. And But he's done a lot. He's done a lot for America, and anyone that wants to do the job all over again, because the money ain't worth it. He doesn't care about the wage. He cares about the job, and if he's willing to do it, then I take my hat off to him.
It's also interesting the point that he brought up about just knowing seed words and whether that makes you the owner or liable for tax. Just knowledge of the words. That's interesting. That's interesting because if you think about it, if there's a government agency that has seed words, then clearly people in that government agency have seen the seed words and know they exist and have knowledge of them somehow. Someone has to manage it, right? And that's an interesting question. Are those people, once they have knowledge, if that's the standard by which we're going to judge whether someone's liable for tax on airdrops or tax for crypto, then those people who know that in those government agencies would also be liable for the crypto, unless there's some sort of law we don't know about that exempts them from that.
Yeah, well, they think they're exempt. That's the problem. That's the whole problem. It's a misplacement of power, in this situation. And, I think the whole thing here is the SEC is trying to apply laws, rules, regulations to something new that were made in the 1930s or 40s, back in the old school days when laws were made in America. How can they apply them to assets that didn't even exist till 2009, 2010?
Yeah, and I think also the other thing is that it sounds like Richard is making the case that this is just free speech. It's not even like just classifying them as securities, blanket description. It's a security now. We deem it to be a security, but not giving anyone any guidance on how to.
They're kind of like the mob. If you heard of Squizzy Taylor in Melbourne, who used to be a guy who ran a gang, who used to go and beat everyone up for their rent, that's kind of how they're acting, like the mob. So they know that they're doing things that are against the law. They're getting away with it in the public's eye. And the only way they know how to make these rules is through going to people's doors and beating the crap out of them or taking them to court and suing them for a lot of money. That's their only objective. There's no, as Twitter said, as Richard, there's no clarification. These guys are bullies. The only way they know how to clarify these, as securities, as they say, is through bullying tactics.
I have to say, after watching that stream, I was already feeling maybe it was a misplaced sense of confidence over this whole thing, but I knew there was, me having, maybe before I saw this stream, it was a misplaced sense of confidence, but I had read and heard enough that I thought that we still have our side of things has a good case, to defend all this stuff, defend against all this civil case, especially. But now just hearing him talk about it though, Sammy, it just made me he's going deep on all of this. He's every angle I think that could be explored is going to be explored, and it sounds like he's going on the offensive as well. That's the thing. It's not just about him defending what he defending against what they're saying or alleging. He's going on the offensive, saying, "Hey, you guys suck at your jobs so badly, and it's about time someone made you accountable for that."
Yep. But what was funny is when he mentioned Solana and how, Solana's already, the SEC thinks Solana's security, but it's still pumped, and he laughed, and I was laughing. I thought it was quite funny that Richie still sees the point that this is pretty funny because there's a lot of cryptos in the same boat as what HEX and Pulse are in. So, and they're still pumping. So it's kind of funny. But yeah, look, my heart goes out to Richard being the face of this problem that's that's come up. But he's got a lot of support from the community. At the end of the day, it's only a legal battle, whether it be civil, whatever. All it involves is a team to handle it for you. But the thing is, if it doesn't go in our favour, there's 40,000 plus people who are going to lose money and lose heart out of this. That's what's concerning about it. And also, Richard says there's another side to it, and he brings up the human rights side. As an American, when they're breaking the law,
I know that. I think it's important just to point out, like you assume that people would lose money if he lost, but if he lost that, like if something happened and he that pushed it against him, that doesn't change the HEX contract. All it does is change. So it wouldn't change people's ability to interact with it. It wouldn't change people's ability to bridge in and bridge out of PulseChain. It wouldn't change people's ability to, use exchanges to change crypto into dollars or turn dollars into crypto and get it out. So none of what I just think that stuff is a cash grab. They're just trying to get their hands on that sacrifice money. That's what they're trying to do.
Absolutely.
It's a treasure chest that they're just trying to get their hands on.
Yeah, sure.
I would rather see those keys lost forever than go SEC's hands. I'd rather see those keys lost forever.
Well, I heard a rumor that there's actually a dead man switch on HEX. So if anything, went down, there's a switch that can be flicked that basically makes everyone a whole lot better off. But it's maybe all bullshit. But it'd be funny if that happened, if, something did go down. But, I think we'll be fine. I think, they can't get away with this, what they're doing. They can't. I mean, if a judge is calling Gary Shitface Gensler corrupt, and they've been told to clean up their act, they've been losing cases, then, it looks good for us. It makes it.
When you say a dead man switch, like as in the entity that holds the keys, if they were to no longer be around to manage those keys, you're saying there could be something that could take place.
I heard a rumor there's something like a dead man switch. So if something ever happened,
that's interesting. But like stakes have an inbuilt dead man switch. That's what's so interesting about HEX. It's like there's already a dead man switch built into the HEX contract by way of there being, if you are not there to end your stake, right? Then what happens? Like so you can have other people do the good accounting, and there's like an interesting. There's a mathematical equation that needs to be done at that point, because sometimes it's worth letting it bleed out, letting a stake bleed out, and sometimes it's worth good accounting a big stake.
Yeah,
it's like the everyone's better off with it being good good accounting being run by someone. It's like some people have to do the maths on that at the time. But that's in essence, that is sort of like an inbuilt dead man switch that is in, it's in HEX, and everyone has access to it.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
So there's a few comments about. I was reading Twitter before, and I did see some stuff about the gas on PulseChain. So has there been? Do we know? Has there been a resolution?
Yeah, there has been a resolution. Something about the gas fees, or the gas was set. It's set to the wrong thing. Hang on, let me tell you what. Because Poseidon, who's an admin, picked it up, and he said that the gas range went back to the working range. There were issues with it for many hours. That's all he said about that, but it's fixed now apparently.
Okay. A Finbear in the chat is saying how ridiculous is the gas now.
Is it?
So
Is he
I'm
talking about PulseChain or Ethereum?
Well, Ethereum gas has been shitty for a while.
Oh, it's terrible. It's terrible. I got a big estate coming out in January, and I am actually now just saving up Ethereum to get that sucker out.
It's
And
actually
now,
not too bad at the moment. It's 18 Gwei at the moment, so
well,
it's not.
I don't know, but the last time I ended one, it still cost me like hundreds of dollars. But you
Those
know,
longer stakes are going to cost more in Ethereum.
yeah,
It's
this
just
is like a day. I don't know. It was in the first 6 months of HEX, but you know, I'm in that dilemma now where Ethereum is costing that much to transact on. Is it better just to shoot over my HEX from Ethereum onto PulseChain and swap it? You know, because why transact on Ethereum? They're just basically
you
robbing
don't.
you blind.
You know, you don't even need to swap it. If you don't want, you can just bridge the hex from Ethereum. You can just bridge it over the PulseChain, and just keep it as hex on Ethereum.
On
Hex
the
from
Pulse,
Ethereum on the Pulse
on
chain, and you
PulseChain,
can,
yeah.
if we might just bring up Dex Screener and have a look at the liquidity pools, because as I believe that the liquidity pool for Hex from Ethereum on Pulse chain is actually as big in dollar terms as the Ethereum liquidity pool. So if that is the case, and let me just bring it up, if that is the case, then Hex from
0.06. Finbear says 0.06 ETH to end a grand stake. Let me have a look. How much ETH have I got? I've got 0.06. Yeah, I should have 0.06. It's actually not too bad.
so there's $1.3 million worth of liquidity there, Hex from Ethereum on Pulse chain.
So what you're saying is you can still transact with it, but do it over on PulseChain if you want to keep your Ethereum HEX. Which is a good idea.
And there's 1.3 mil against USDC.
Nice.
So, yeah, I think, yeah, I think that there's plenty of liquidity there to trade into. It's like, I don't think there'll be much slippage if you decide to hold your Ethereum Hex on the Pulse chain. And then you don't have to play if you don't want to, because some people want to, are happy to, they want to slowly move all their Ethereum Hex into Pulse Hex. Some people see the value in buying the Ethereum Hex. But there's no doubt that whatever you decide, whatever you think is the right move, holding the assets on Pulse chain is going to be generally cheaper to do
that's
stuff.
so true.
The only issue that you have, the only thing that what you won't be able to do is you will not be able to stake your Ethereum your Hex from Ethereum. Once you've bridged it over the Pulse chain, you won't be able to stake that natively, like do a native Hex stake with that.
Oh yeah. What about on the Stakehouse app? And the pool party app? I know that Magic Carpet Ride's bringing out a Stakehouse app where you can pool stake your HEX. I know you can do it on both sides. It'd be interesting to find if you can do it actually from PulseChain, both HEX on Pulse and HEX from Ethereum on the same side. So that'd be awesome.
Yeah, it wouldn't be a native Hex stake, would it? Though, no matter what, it wouldn't be.
No, this is a pooled stake 43. So Stakehouse are a platform that when they launch is basically so you get into a pool. So all your mates got some HEX. They want to do a rolling month or 2 month pool. So you're basically sharing all the gas fees and you're sharing all the profits. So you're
Profit.
basically maximizing your profits by doing that.
Yep.
We should
Yep,
get
yep.
Ty on to talk about it when it launches, because I think it's really interesting for Mexicans that want to do that.
Yeah, I've been waiting for it to launch. Wouldn't mind knowing more about it. It's sort of like a, as far as I understand it, it's sort of like do your own perpetual, but it's like NFT based. It's like done with NFTs or something. It's my understanding of it. But yeah,
Everything's
once
done
it's
with
ready,
NFT.
Ty can come on and
Yeah,
tell us all about it.
yeah, we'll get
But
him
yeah, so
on.
well, I mean, what are the other options for people if they bring their hex from Ethereum and they're not wanting to stake it, they just want to hold it liquid, and they bring it over the PulseChain? What are their other options? There's a liquidity pool that you could go into as well, I'm guessing. If you want to provide liquidity for hex from Ethereum as well as hex from PulseChain, if you've got both sides, you can like put that in the liquidity pool and get fees. So there's some options, and what's an interesting thing that Alex from Hedron is doing is he's creating a protocol so that like you can do whatever on either chain.
Whoa,
Something
nice.
something something along those lines. Like I don't know the detail, but I believe that you'll be able to just do whatever on both sides, and it's going to be the same or something like that.
Hi, Briz. How are you? Yeah, well, that'll be really cool. Is he going to give us more free money? Because I like when he gives us free money.
We just I think hopefully in a hyper bull, Hedron goes up in price. That
Hopefully.
would be nice.
Well, Richard was also saying about bridges and multi-chain swapping bridges. And, I think it's something that we should really think about as a community. If we're going to hit a hyper bull run, no one wants their shit stuck on the bridge like it was today or when like first opened PulseChain, because that time is money, right? And I know that there's PortalX swap. I know that there's Pulse Drip, which I'm a big Pulse Dripper, have bought out a multi-chain bridge as well. But theirs is not, I don't think it's working on with all assets at the moment. There's only it's just sort of come out and it's just got a few type of swaps you can do, but there's more there. They just haven't started yet. But I think that's something that I think it's fantastic. Those multi-swap bridges are just amazing. I've used PortalX and found it fantastic. I think we should be.
I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of Thor swap. I think
Yeah.
that I'm a big fan of that. I like the idea behind that protocol, and also the other thing that I'm interested in, and I'm just waiting on more to hear more about it, is Layer Zero. There's some.
And what does Thought Swap do? What chains can you swap?
Oh, heaps. You can't do PulseChain though, as far as I know. So someone would have to go in and do that. So like a whale would have to have the resources to go in and do it. Someone has to do it.
Swap you can, and Pulse Drip Swap you should be able to.
There's changenow.io, I think.
Change Now, but Change Now is a little bit. Oh no, it's a bit old fashioned. Their platform. I don't know. I find it to be. I don't find it most convenient, but you can use it and it works for other platforms.
When you say it's old fashioned, what do you?
I just don't think it's as sophisticated as the more modern ones that are about.
Okay. Look, I haven't used it personally in a little while, but I know that that's something that has worked, and as far as I know, continues to work. And that's a bit of
Beetroot Swap. Yeah. Beetroot World are going to bring out a multi-chain bridge too. I'm pretty sure, weren't they?
Perhaps Bluey's my go-to man when it comes to beetroot. He's the one who seems to know more about it than.
We need to get as many as we can for the hyperball. We don't want no blockages, and I think we need to promote them to other people who just aren't aware that they exist.
There's also Pulse LN, Pulse Lightning Network.
Mm-hmm.
What else is there? So Pulse Lightning Network, I think that you can get across the BTC from PulseChain and vice versa.
Oh, cool.
There was Zenify, which, even though the name has Zen in it, I don't think it actually had anything to do with Zen. I think it's just the name, and it was like an aggregator, a bridge aggregator.
Mm-hmm.
And no, a cross chain, not a bridge, a cross chain swap aggregator. It would just like tell
Nice.
you where where you could go swap. I think there was one that was called fixedfloat.com. There's Houdini Swap. There's a lot. There's
And are
a
these
lot of.
all the work of PulseChain?
I don't think so. I don't
Well,
think so.
maybe for homework this week, we should go through with all the fellas and just try and get a list of all the available platforms you can use for PulseChain.
Good idea. We should. Maybe that can be our homework for the next week.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Portalex is definitely one that you can.
I've used it personally myself. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Was there anything else, Sammy, that you wanted to chat about?
Where's Tangent?
Tangent, I think this time of the year he's AWOL.
Oh yeah. Where's Jexter? Oh, he's with the family having a barbecue.
I don't know. Not
Where's
sure.
Blue Bum?
Blue Bum's in India with no internet.
Is he? I thought he was in Australia. He went back to India. Who want to go back to India, man?
India's like, I reckon India would be right up Bluey's alley.
Yeah, probably. If you like no internet and lots of people everywhere and busy public transport.
If you like rice and curry. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know, not much. I mean, maybe for like a couple of days just to have a look at it, but yeah, I'm not big on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I've got nothing. Just I was really happy that we saw Richard Hart today. It just basically restores our faith in why we're here, and we're all in this together. They're just pinning it on Richie, but we're all in this. We don't reckon it's the security, and if they get away with trying to say it is, then they got a problem, not us. But yeah, very refreshing, and Richard looks well. Looks like he's taking care of himself. And he's got a huge support from the community, which is the main thing. So yeah, it was a nice Christmas and good to hear from Richie. But yeah, is there anything you want to share, 43?
The only thing I want to quickly just share is that I'm annoyed that every time I look at Twitter, whenever it is, there's always like that something morbid account. And it comes up and shows like there'll be like some story of something.
Yeah, morbid knowledge.
Like,
I see that one too. Yeah,
I hate that account. I need to block that account. I need to block that account.
Hide it.
Like the other day, I'm not sure if it was on the morbid, but it was a similar one. There was like a video, and it's like some guy was doing a Facebook Live on a plane, and it was just like, this is the last like minute before this plane crashed, and the guy was just like, had the Facebook Live video, and it's just like, I'm not watching this. It's like flicked away. It's like, I don't want to see this stuff. Like I don't need, you know what I mean? I don't need to see. I've seen stuff and it remains with me now. I don't need to just randomly see like, snuff films on Twitter. Like I don't need to see that.
Yeah, just scroll past. There's enough bullshit in the world.
Like, I don't mind it being on. By the way, I don't mind it being on Twitter. Hey, if that's what makes some people happy, or they want to see it, or they enjoy it, then so be it. But I'm sick of seeing it. I need to block that stuff. I need to start blocking it. I've seen enough crap that occupies my headspace that I don't need to
Plenty
see
of crap
that.
on Twitter.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, it's been nice chatting, Sammy. I'm gonna.
Always fun.
For some reason, I'm really, really tired.
Do you go to work tomorrow?
Nope.
I do. Then I got
Oh,
another
do you?
3 days off. I know. But doesn't matter. It was good to talk to you. Good to see everyone in chat. Thanks for joining. I hope you all had a Merry Christmas.
Yes.
And
Merry
New Year's
Christmas.
is coming. I've got to work that too. But, it sucks.
Really? I hope you're getting paid more.
Yeah, I do. So you guys take care. Good to see everyone.
See you later.